So on Radio 4 in January 2008, quote unquote, had a request from an Englishman in Tasmania, can you read out The Map by James Walker? I thought, he's on the radio, gosh. So I rang my brother and said, I think we need to feed them some information in, because Nigel Rees had said, we don't know much about this chap. We'd like to know more if anyone can contact us. So my brother wrote a little biography for him, because James Walker was the best man at my parents' wedding. He was in, this is what my brother wrote. James Walker was introduced to our family by my mother's childhood friend, the Yorkshire poet Ruth Hedger, who met him through a literary society that included Jan Struther, author of Mrs. Miniver. And he came from a large fairground family, jokingly referring to himself as the fairground poet. He was in the RAF, stationed in the West Midlands in the early part of the war, where he would hitchhike with his friend Brew to our house for weekends at the Grange, Ilmington. And the house is right on the top of a hill, and it's magnificent, in the southernmost tip of Warwickshire, and that's frequently referred to in his poems. So even the map, which was requested, has How the Leaves of Warwick Green the Air. And other poems referring to that period are one in memory of my brother's mother from my father's first marriage, Rosamond. She is the Cotswold earth, the Cotswold sky, which clothe and cover now her sleep forever. And so my mother, Robin's mother, died during the war, and afterwards Jimmy acted as best man when his father married again. I thought you might be interested in, just quickly, I've got an excerpt from a letter from him to Rosamond, my dad's first wife. My father was called Dayrell, and this is from the war zone in Egypt. And 16th August 1942, I've just finished a letter to Dayrell. One page only were allowed, and of course I crimped it. It will take hours to decipher. I talked a lot about you and Robin. It's brought my thoughts very close to England, and you all made me nostalgic for those heavenly weekends at Grange, which, as I told Dayrell, perhaps heartlessly, has become symbolic in my mind with England and all that was and is best and sweetest and most worth preserving in English country life. So much so that a novel around it is taking slow shape in my mind, to be called, if it's ever written, This Gracious House. If I ever become very rich, I shall buy it back for you and come and live there as a permanent guest. I've had lots of fun in lots of houses and been happy in a few, and I loved my attic in Birmingham, but I never loved a whole house and the atmosphere of a whole house as I loved the Grange. And just to show how poetic he was, even in a letter, a bit later on in the letter, he's looking up at the sky from the desert, and he says, it is just full, dark, rich and velvet, and palpably soft, with a sharp, clear sickle of a blue moon over the last trickle of hyacinth light in the west. And the stars are out, and I can count 6 signs of the zodiac from where I sit, from horizon to horizon. Scorpio is significantly one of them. They almost visibly move, their sphere of operation out here being so vast and so clear compared with that at home. Do you know Francis Ledwidge's poetry, his beautiful When the Slow Procession of the Stars Crosses the Night? Often comes to my mind. I realised with a shock the other day that I have forgotten what English skies are really like. When I imagine an English landscape now, these blue, blue skies are what cap it. Actually, the English blue is something quite different. The English skies are watercolours, and these are oils. And this is, therefore, written in the desert. The poem that was requested on quote-unquote, this is The Map. How tiny England is, this map will show, and how she is the butt of many seas that shaped her landscape to its subtleties, and how few her rivers are, her hills how low. This map will tell you faintly of her towns. Pinpoint for London, Thames a thread of hair. It will not tell of dew ponds on the downs, or how the leaves of Warwick green the air. This map will tell you nothing of how the coltish April skips across her skies, nor how in autumn nights the curlew cries, or thrush or blackbird harmonise in May. These such things consult that wiser chart, engraved upon the exiled English heart.
Oh, lovely.
And
What was that called? What was the
that's
title?
called The Map.
I mean, the thing is, when you look at the map, if you've been there, those things do come back.
They come back, but you don't see
You
them.
don't see them in the map.
No.
And he's...
The map has its limitations.
It
It
does.
does remind you, though.
It does.
Yes, of course.
Right. And this is the title poem of his book of poems, and I thought it needed a tune. This is, you can just imagine him lying in the desert and the mirage, just seeing endless horizons, but things going watery. Sometimes against the sun I seek the islands, amber and green from purple lakes they rise. Against the sun, desiring the cool islands, I take their golden beckon to my eyes. There are the deep woods, there the dappled mountains, and in the islands there are girls and flowers. Their waters spring forever from the fountain, and shadows lengthen down the quiet hours. There in the islands is a lost endeavor, the word unspoken and the song unsung. What failed to bloom, blooms there and there forever, is youth's high courage, knowing it is young. Sometimes against the sun I seek the islands that burn their question on the desperate air. Beyond the purple lakes desire the islands, islands that vanish. Lakes were never there.
Again, all the originality of that, and how nice to be introduced to a poet we, I'm sure, didn't know. That's lovely, a lovely poem. And thank you very much for the accompaniment there.
I've left one copy in the Saison's Poetry Library in Festival Hall so as people can actually go there and look at it.
That's lovely.
It's completely out of print.
That's lovely.
I'm hoping in the next year or two to actually put the whole lot on a website. That's my plan.
Quite a story. Thank you very much indeed.
Beautiful.
Can I